Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Donna Jean Plants, and I'm the Executive Director at SAAGNY. Today, we are presenting Providing Enormous Benefits for Your Professional and Personal Growth, Your Promotional Products Trade Association, with a panel of representatives from your local promotional products trade associations located from Maine to Virginia. This panel will be moderated by Dan Edge, who is a SAAGNY board member. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your GoToWebinar control panel. I will bring them up at the end of the presentation. This webinar will be recorded and will be available for future viewing. Each of you will receive a link to the recording in the next day or so to share with colleagues. Now, without further ado, we turn the time over to Dan and the panel.
Thank you, DJ, and hello, panel. Good to see everyone's faces today. For those that may not know me, my name is Dan Edge. I am with Peerless Umbrella, and as DJ said, I am a board member for SAAGNY. So before we start, why don't we just jump around the room and let everybody introduce themselves. This is an all-star cast of regional association superstars that they've put together for me. So I'm excited to hear what they all have to say today and tell their story. So Joe, why don't you start? Just give a little quick intro of yourself, maybe what association you're with and what company you're with and how many years you've been in the industry.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, DJ. Thanks, panelists. My name is Joe Favre. I'm with Vanguard Direct in Midtown Manhattan. I've been in the industry for 3 decades on both sides of the fence as a supplier and a distributor. And being a member of SAAGNY and being part of the board has been incredibly rewarding for me for the last couple of years, and I'm just really appreciative of this opportunity to chat.
Thank you. Andres.
Hey, I'm Andres Blanco. I'm Vice President of Owner Success at AIA Corporation. I've been in the promo industry about 25 years, and I am currently President of VAPPA. Thank you, panelists. Thanks for having me on this. Look forward to it. Big fan of the associations and love to see how we can work closely together with everyone.
Great, thank you. Jeff Franklin, how about you, my friend?
Yeah, Jeff Franklin, National Accounts Manager with Headwear USA. I've been in the industry for about 15 years now. Was on both sides, started on the distributor side and have been on the supplier side now for the last 10 years. And the immediate past president for the Chesapeake Promotional Products Association.
Great, thank you. Mike, how about yourself?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Shreve. I am the Territory Sales Manager at Augusta Sportswear. I'm also the active Vice President for TRASA, which is the Pittsburgh Regional. And I'm looking forward to chatting with you guys this morning.
Excellent, thank you. And Staci, how about yourself?
Good morning. I work for a company called Graph Tech in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and I'm currently on sitting as president of PAPPA. So thank you all for joining us. Can't wait to chat.
Excellent. And last but not least, Rachel.
Hi, excuse me, I'm Rachel Wright, and I work for a company called the Fenway Group. I've been in the industry about 20 years, and I am treasurer of NEPPA here in New England.
All right, well, thank you. So like I said, my name is Dan Edge. I am part of SAAGNY and I sit on the board. It's so interesting, my story, and I'm going to tell it just because when DJ asked me to moderate this webinar, I scratched my head because I've been in this industry, it'll be 25 years this coming September. And when I started at Peerless 24 years ago, someone in my office invited me to a SAAGNY committee fair. It was up at the New York Botanical Gardens. It was a dinner. And I knew nobody in this industry, and I figured this was a good opportunity. I was probably 27 at the time. It was my first job in the industry. I figured it was a great opportunity to go meet some people and just try to make a name for myself. And so I went to this, and I was all, you know, green-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I was going from table to table and signing my name on all the clipboards and hoping somebody would call me back. And it was sort of like high school. We were up on the bulletin board and, you know, signing up for clubs. And to my dismay, nobody called me back. And I was both hurt and probably more annoyed that I made the effort to put myself out there and this SAAGNY organization kind of turned their back on me. So I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to turn my back on them. And I really put my efforts into my job. And I even went more on a national basis, and I was working on committees with PPAI, but I didn't see the value with SAAGNY at that time. Fast forward 24 years, Rachel Levin, who's president of SAAGNY, who's a good friend of mine, reached out to me last fall and she said, would you want to serve on the SAAGNY board? And I was like, Rachel, do you have the wrong Dan? Like, I'm not sure I'm the guy for you. I've never served on a committee in SAAGNY. And she goes, you're the perfect person. That's what we want. We need fresh blood. We need new ideas, people from the outside. And I really embrace that. And I've only been part of SAAGNY and active for about 6 months now, but I'm truly seeing the value. And that's really what I want to get out of today's meeting, is just hear from all the people on our panelists, what value associations have brought to them, both personally and professionally. So I've come up with a couple questions. So my first question, and I guess it's an obvious one, but maybe not so obvious to people who aren't involved, is what is a regional association? Jeff Franklin, you want to see if you can answer that for us?
Yeah, kicking off the big questions right at the start, huh? So look, I think there's an official answer, and then I think I'll give you my answer. The official answer is basically there's 27 different regional associations in this industry, and they're divided into 5 different districts. You've got sort of district 1 through 5, and it's the Northeast, the Southeast, the Midwest, the South, and then of course the West Coast. And so ultimately, what the regional associations are is, I think of them as sort of like a little miniature PPAI or ASI in your own local backyard. And at CPPA, we've done some interview videos and things like that. And one of the things that was a common thread through a lot of the people that we interviewed was the word community. And so my answer essentially is it's a community. I think there's so many people. Our industry is 97% small business. And so I think there's so many people that don't understand or realize, we're not in this thing alone. Everybody, there's a huge community at our side that can really help us, through a lot of different scenarios. And you can really lean on partner suppliers and partner distributors. And you really don't get access to that stuff unless you are participating in your local regional.
Cool. And I agree with you. I think, there's so much to be said, especially now coming out of a pandemic like we all lived through, where people are working remote. You don't have access to as many people in an office. And just to have a community to lean on is oh so important. So Joe, question for you. My story. So sort of that hesitation to get involved with my regional association. I felt it was not inclusive, it was not welcoming. Was it me? Was I just like a punk kid going to a show and just no one really cared to work with me, or did I just miss the boat?
What's the old saying about it's not you, it's me? I mean, up until recently, I thought my experience was completely unique because I was a fresh-eyed kid who kind of had love at first sight with our industry in the late 80s, early 90s. And, as an organization, SAAGNY was always in the fabric of everything that happened in this region. It was always there. It was kind of omnipresent. But I felt like I was trying to get a seat at the cool kids table. And I spent years thinking it was me. It wasn't exclusionary, but there was a vibe, for lack of a better term, that it was kind of cliquish, and I just didn't know how to go about getting in. And to your point, I wasn't getting that welcoming feeling. It's really been an interesting ride for me, being involved with the board a little longer than yourself, that so many things resonate in terms of our desperate need for community and connections now more than ever. I've thrown around expressions like it's not your father's regional. I love to tell people we live in a big, small industry because the connections, like Jeff was saying, I mean, we all intermingle on so many levels. My evolution, it's kind of funny. I've been thinking about it a lot leading up to this within SAAGNY. I saw more colleagues being involved. Not that nobody extended that hand or that olive branch, but it really wasn't happening, which is part of the reason I'm involved, because I find when you do extend it, the ranks grow and we all get better together. I had a moment to shamelessly name drop Bill Lazarus years ago. He looked at me at lunch or something and said, well, SAAGNY needs you more than you need SAAGNY. And I thought, well, that's pretty hokey. But it stuck in my head for years, honest to goodness. And I've since told he and his son. And as I saw more and more people getting involved, and I got a very similar phone call to yourself, I felt like the time was right for me and the time was right for the organization. I mean, not to be dramatic, but the growth as an organization all of our regionals have had during this time that we've all been in a grinder has been phenomenal. I just feel like we've gotten so much better together. So it happened when it was supposed to happen, but it informed me as to how I think I can, help make SAAGNY a better organization, to be more welcoming. And some of that is celebrating our youth, and some of that is just making sure that we have wide open doors in terms of what we offer to potential members and volunteers.
Yeah. You know what? I want to just divert a little bit. Do you think associations are different now than they were 10 years ago? Do you think the pandemic had anything or has changed it in a positive way, a negative way? Or is just your perception different? And now that you're on the inside, you see it as a much different organization?
I think it's a mixed bag, but I want to believe that the organizations are different. As we've all grown professionally as an industry, even going through, like I said, the grinder earlier, all the conversations I've had with supplier partners, we struggled with so much. And I found myself talking to somebody and said, my fondest hope was that we would come out of this stronger, that our supplier relationships, they're not suppliers, they're partners, would be better. We've all craved more transparency. And I feel like that's happened. And, I think Jeff alluded to it earlier, we've got these smaller spaces that are more intimate, that we're having conversations and intersections that we wouldn't have ordinarily. So I do think the organizations as a whole, the regionals, have evolved and grown and become more welcoming. And, I don't want to say the pandemic helped it, but it certainly helped push it along. Because I think that was a major factor. We needed to connect on some level. Fine, we connected over screens a lot, but I think it opened up a lot of opportunities to do better work together.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, like I said, for 24 years, and not to keep throwing that out, but that was just it is so powerful, where I was such a holdout for so long. And, I was successful in this industry, and I would rely on friends from across the country. I mean, other supplier friends, and I would always be calling people and just leaning on them. And to know that I have people close by that I could see in person at different events, at dinners, it opened my eyes a lot to, how many people are dealing with the same issues, and, how much we could just learn for best practices. So that leads me to small, this industry is made up of a lot of small distributors and suppliers and larger distributors and suppliers. And I'm curious if we feel that there's a benefit to a larger distributor or a smaller distributor and supplier as well. Anybody want to take a stab at that? Rachel, how about you? You know what? I think you're on mute.
It's my first time on Zoom.
Listen to me, this is what happens when you're doing a live webinar. So we embrace it.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
It's my first time. So my first job in the industry, my first two jobs in the industry were both with large top 40 distributors. And I got involved in NEPPA while I was at one of those big distributors. And it was a great thing for our company. We hadn't had someone in the company get involved, and we started sending, we had the ability to send a mass of people to shows and to events, and it really helped our vendor relations, and it helped us just become more prominent. Although we were a large distributor, we weren't necessarily kind of top of mind in the region. So I loved being able to expose our shop to NEPPA. And then right as the pandemic hit, I went from a giant distributor to an itty bitty distributor where, with 2 people, and it was, to say it was shocking was an understatement. To go from, you know, having direct lines to customer service and sales reps and EQP and all of the things that the big distributors get, to going to having, you know, none of that. And my connections from NEPPA completely got me through that first year. Was, you know, I could call people from other small distributors and say, how do you approach this? How do you approach that? I could call the suppliers that I had met through my time in NEPPA and say, you know, like, what do you guys have to offer us little guys? And, you know, there were several suppliers who said, you know, we've worked with you for years and we're going to trust you and we're going to, you know, offer you programs. And it just, those connections made all the difference. And I've been, you know, I've been with NEPPA now for 6 years, and, you know, just kind of every year I think, oh, this is it. I'm going to step back and let someone else. And then, you know, I keep getting a new job, and I don't want to walk away because now these people are dear friends, and I really, I need these connections, especially, you know, in this position.
Well, I got to tell you, you know, I think you hit the nail on the head and what you're about relationships. And, you know, this industry truly is built on relationships. And I can't tell you a day that doesn't go by where I don't get a phone call from someone who I've known for years, a distributor who needs help with something, whether it be a rush order or maybe they're having an issue or a problem. But, you know, to be able to network and meet other like-minded, and really in your case as a distributor, suppliers, to me, there's so much value there. And to just have that relationship on a very personal level, such a leg up on so many other customers, distributor customers of that supplier, because you have somebody now to call and you can reach out to a salesperson or someone higher up. So I think that in itself just lends a huge benefit to that whole networking and being involved.
Yeah, it has.
Andres, anything on your end with that?
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. Like this industry has always been built on relationships and will continue to be built on relationships. And yeah, but here's the thing with large distributors, small distributorships, it's that sense of community that your regional is going to bring to you. You know, you walk into a trade show room, you're going to start networking with people. You're going to start just talking to people about certain things. You know, for me, I went from a small distributorship to a medium to now a big boy distributorship. So I've made connections with suppliers. You know, the conversations have shifted a little bit based on my new role here, but still those deep founded relationships are there. You know, when you talk shop with other distributors, when you're sitting over lunch, having a cup of coffee, you know, especially at VAPPA, maybe I'm sure at your other associations, we're not out to we're not worried about competitors stealing our customers. We're just talking to figure out how we can get through things, especially during the last couple of years with this pandemic. It's like, what are you doing to survive? How are you marketing yourselves? How are you going to market now to try to retain customers or get new customers? These are the conversations that we're continually hearing. And I think that, you know, doing it on a small scale like this is great because, again, not all the distributors have the deep pockets to send their staff all the way to Vegas or Orlando. But if you have a show in your backyard with 40 to 60 suppliers that are really the core of our industry, you know, it makes sense to be able to go to these things and use it to your benefit.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think, you know what, one of the amazing things and the transformations of this industry that I've seen is just transparency. And it used to be everybody was so neurotic and paranoid. You know, distributors didn't want to bring a client to a show because they didn't want someone to steal. They were worried that a supplier would contact their end buyer directly and sell to them directly. I mean, we're in a different world now. I mean, I literally, again, I don't think a day goes by where I don't have a distributor reach out to me and say, I need the address of your factory in China and their social audit or their third-party audit for safety. I mean, that's commonplace. I give our factory names out every day. And that's just the world we live in now. We're a transparent world. I think there's a huge sharing of ideas. I mean, I got my Common SKUs community poster behind me. I mean, again, that just created a community. And I think that's what the regional associations just need to continue to do and just do better, is just a welcoming of more ideas, more people, a sharing of ideas, best practices, because we're all in this together. I mean, if this industry grows as a whole, we will all benefit. It is like a moving train. And you know what? Everybody will jump on. And the more, I think, awareness we can make of promotional products and merchandise, again, it benefits all of us. So great point. So just personal benefits. You know, you're all very active, obviously, in your associations. Again, I'm a newbie, so half these acronyms you guys are throwing out, NEPPA and VAPPA, and I don't even know what they stand for, but I'm going to learn. That's one of my goals this year. Jeff was mentioning District 1 and District 2. I'm thinking Hunger Games. I'm not thinking a professional regional association. I'm looking for Katniss and her bow and arrow. So something tells me it's not that. So we'll probably let Jeff go back to that and explain what District 1 is. But Mike, why don't you just tell me some of the just personal stories that, you know, things that have worked well for you and how you've benefited from being active.
Of course. Dan, actually, hearing your story was pretty interesting because I had a similar experience. I joined TRASA years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago now, as an independent sales rep. So as we kind of were alluding to here earlier, I was working for a smaller, supplier, trying to get my foot in the door, kind of a sheepish attempt to grow my book of business. And I was approached by then TRASA president Tim and our executive director Patty, and they asked me to get involved, and I decided to do so, just kind of in a leap of faith type deal. I was kind of getting involved in this industry from another industry that was a bit adjacent to it. Apparel, promotional products are all kind of intrinsically linked, but Augusta Sportswear and a lot of my previous companies that I worked with were all team sports based. So we were working into, high school baseball teams and football teams and spirit wear orders for high schools and etc. So getting involved in this was a new experience. And I think everyone here on this panel has touched on it a little bit, but you really get into this what you put into it, or you get out of it what you put into it, and the more you immerse yourself into your regional, I think you kind of see that sense of community grow. Getting involved with the board was a moment for me to, step outside of just this guy that shows up to some trade shows and tries to shake hands and do a little relationship building, actual problem solving for this regional. Everyone that's on this panel right now, I believe, is on a board at one of these regionals. And I don't know if members are aware of this kind of stuff, but we spend hours on Zoom calls, getting in Zoom calls, organizing events, doing the operational work for trade shows. TRASA right now is strategizing our upcoming golf tournament and, trying to get everyone together for a Pirates baseball game to, just network and share ideas. So it was kind of a light bulb moment for me in the industry. I'm trying to step out of my shell a little bit and get involved. And it took no less than a year to realize that, this really helped benefit my business. As you had mentioned, Dan, I now have TRASA accounts that know me from being around for 4 or 5 years now, know that I'm now involved at the board level with the organization, and that I actually have an invested interest in helping their companies grow. So I work for a larger supplier. So, some smaller companies might immediately assume that, I have 600 active accounts. I only spend my time with big distributors, et cetera. And that's not the case. And a platform like TRASA has really incubated that sort of relationship and given us a chance to connect where we normally wouldn't.
Yeah. I almost look at like a time versus reward. like the time you put into it versus the reward that you get from it. And you have to put the time in. It's not, you don't have to commit, devote your life to it. And some will be more active than others. And like I said, as a board member, it's certainly more hours than I, would have if I was just a member. But again, there's a lot. I think the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. Staci, how about yourself?
Yeah, a lot of similarities to what everyone else is saying, but I come from a very small distributor. It's just me selling promotional products. We're a printer by trade, and then we kind of branched off into the promo world. So my biggest thing that I love about the association is I have people to talk to about my world, and kind of commiserate on bad days and talk about the good days. But I was approached by a supplier, and he said, "Hey, PAPPA has opening on the board. Why don't you run?" And I'm like, "Sure, I have no idea what that means, but here's my headshot. Here we go." And came on the board and just became so close to these people that you talk to once a month for an hour and just learned so much from them. I'm kind of a newbie in this world. I'm 10 years in and have only been around PAPPA now 2 years. So the first year I kind of sat back, just listened, got some, supplier contacts, learned about what other distributors are doing, and it was right before COVID. And then it just became a community to talk to when we're all going through different things, good and bad. And then all of a sudden it was nomination time and no one wanted to be president. And here I am, doing it my second year in. So I definitely kind of am doing it by fire and learning as I go, but I've loved every second of it. As Mike said, planning the shows and really seeing what all goes in on the back end and just leaning on other people in the organization and having those supplier reps to talk to has really helped me as a small distributor kind of grow during these hard times.
That's awesome. It's really pulling the curtain back. I mean, for me personally, the curtain is pulled back and I get to see it now from the other side, and the stories and the issues that come up, you never imagine it. And but it has to get done, and it's important.
Yep.
Anything else? Anyone want to jump in? Again, I look at regionals. I like to have fun, and I think people gravitate towards fun events. I mean, one of my first SAAGNY events was an axe throwing night, and it was great, and I went there and I brought a cooler filled with beer, and someone brought some sandwiches, and we threw some axes and no one got hurt. But I met new people that night, and it was very rewarding. And like I said, it was great that I was able to take something away from it professionally, but also had a really nice evening and met some new people and made some new friends. And that's what I think this is all about when we keep talking community and camaraderie. So any other, Andres?
Yeah, I'll just say, like, for me, it's like when I started my career, I was up in Northern Virginia, members of CPPA. But then 10 years ago, we moved to Richmond, and it's VAPPA down here. And moving to Richmond, my supplier reps, some of them are different. Obviously, don't have those close connections up there anymore with the distributors I was talking to. So I used VAPPA as a means to network and find new relationships that were closer here, develop those new relationships with those suppliers, and understand more of what we can do, and how things are done. And I was getting beat up by some of the supplier members and board members when I got to meet them about, hey, you got to join the board. You got to join the board. And I'm like, all right, yeah, that's fine. So, they get me on, and then again, you open up the curtain and see what's behind there and everything that goes into it. And I got more and more passionate about it, and you just continue growing with it and seeing what you can do to put your mark on it and help. I was coerced at LDW in 2019 to become president of VAPPA. I had two influential board members that were just kept hammering me and basically bullying me after the armadillo races to become president. So here I am. But it's been a great experience. But again, for me, it's like moving to a new town without really knowing anybody. It was a great way for me to just then pick up and find new connections here.
The one thing I do want to just hammer home, and again, I don't know the mix of people that are listening into today's webinar, but everyone on this panel, I think, is on the board, like we established. You don't have to take it to that level. you can be involved. It doesn't have to take over your life. You can volunteer on a committee, and that's great. You can be a mentor. You can look for a mentor. There's a lot of different things that you can do. And again, you dictate how involved you want to be. And if you like it, then maybe the next year you get a little bit more involved. And if you don't like it, then you scale back. It's not a life sentence. It's not something that should take over your life. This is, you know, for the common cause and the good of our industry. And again, just professional and personal growth. But again, I think that's important. I don't want anyone to think that if you get involved or you show up at one of these events, you're going to get sucked in and be, you know, challenged to be the next president of the association, because I don't know if Rachel Levin's on. I'm not being president. So yeah, Joe's,
but that's the key.
He told me he wants to do it. So
I have jokingly said it. I wanted to become president because I knew that I wanted to have an impact on this organization for a few years and see what we could do. You know, but again, there are people that, you know, we ask, or they just don't want to be part of it. They'll help with committees, but that's all we need. It's as little as you want to be involved or as much as you want to be involved. It's really wide open.
You need soldiers, you need, you know, generals, you need everybody. So it's the full army that's going to make it work. So I'm going to throw a question out to everybody. If there was one thing that you could do or change, like a wish list for your association, what would that be? Just to make it better. Like if money was no object, or money, time, but is there something that you feel that your association would truly benefit from if it was done differently?
I'll take that.
Yeah, go for it.
Because I think one of the things, going back to, I think it was maybe Rachel's question about, you know, do we benefit more larger supplier or larger distributors or smaller distributors? And I think by and large, the regional associations are a huge benefit to smaller distributors, maybe not quite so much to larger distributors. However, they can be. But I think with a larger distributor, you also have to look at the regional association as a partner as well, not, you know, almost like a supplier relationship where, you know, you've got a lot of these larger distributors that are doing, you know, their own end user shows. And, you know, I think if they were able to partner with the regional association on maybe one of their end user shows, you know, the regional association doesn't necessarily have to run it a particular way. You know, there can be communication, you know, and I think that's where if you're involved on the board as part of a larger distributor, that could be helpful as well, you know, trying to, you know, facilitate those sort of things. And I'd maybe kick it to Staci as well, because I know PAPPA, and it may have been before your time, I'm not sure, because I think you said you were only on for 2 years, but I think PAPPA actually does this. Like one of their end user shows is very largely attended by one of the larger distributors in that area. And I think that could be a huge benefit to the regional associations, is just more collaboration with some of the larger distributors. It's one of the things I would change.
Yeah, that's our show in Lancaster, and we just had that in April and had over 250 end users come to the show, which was huge for us. And it was in large part to the big distributor, but other distributors in the area are seeing the benefits of it and coming to the shows in previous years, and then now bringing their end users as well. So we were up about, I think it was close to 100 people from the last show, and that was mainly from other distributors in the area seeing how well that worked. And then kind of bringing their clients, and it was very, very successful.
Yeah, I think one of my sales reps, who's been with me for 20 plus years, he made an interesting comment to me a couple months ago, and he said, right now, regional trade shows are the most effective tool in selling. He said, because distributors are not in offices anymore, they're so spread out. He goes, it is one of the few occasions where you can go to a location and see so many people in an afternoon, and they're cost effective. And again, it's like a reunion. You see so many old friends walking down the aisle, you meet some new people. But again, as a supplier, I'll put my supplier hat on now, we value those those trade shows, especially at the regional level, because you know what, you see your friends. And again, right now, I know in New York City, there's not many people in the offices, and you know what, to get them at a trade show is a home run.
I'll give you an analogy, which might have come from the same mouth that you just alluded to, looking at foot traffic in a show, and I think something we'd all agree on, regional quality conversations, quality engagements. And a supplier rep said to me, you know, I looked at the traffic and I tried not to negatively assess the traffic because I'm always a glasses half full guy. If I don't have to wait online to get into your booth and we can talk for 25 minutes, we're all better off.
Right.
And this supplier rep said to me, I'll take 20 meaningful conversations over 50 fluffy ones any day of the week.
So true. So true. And I think it benefits both the supplier and the distributor. So, all right. Anybody?
Yeah,
Rachel.
I was going to say, you know, if we had unlimited funds and unlimited opportunities, one of the things that I know NEPPA has been really interested in is building diversity within the industry and trying to bring more people into the community, and you know, looking for businesses that are owned by, you know, minorities or women-owned businesses, and trying to open that up. And one of the ways that we've been looking to do that is to get involved with some of the decorators that, you know, local decorators that may benefit from the contacts within our industry. And, you know, there's a lot of ways that we can make our regional more inclusive. And one of the ways we started also was just having more people under the age of 30 be on the board. And it's made a huge, you know, I don't want to sound too old, but like our social media presence has been so much better when we have, now that we have two of our members are both under 30, they both got great experience, but they also know how to do stuff that maybe we don't know how to do as well. And like our Facebook likes and our Twitter and our, you know, Instagram have like skyrocketed, and our engagement with distributors and suppliers in our region has also improved. So, you know, just kind of bringing new people, and so bringing new people into the fold.
Yeah, you know, social media is, you hit a great point, because I think, you know, I would answer the question very similar to you. Social media, just how how you present our associations to new people and younger people. Because I think that is it's the mystery. It's, you know, they don't know what we're about. So if we can show them what we're about through social media and through Facebook and Instagram, they might, you know, get interested and pique their curiosity, and they show up at a meeting. So, so I guess my question is, how do we find new members? I think that's the goal, is, and I, to your point, you know, younger members, you know, and why is that important that we're getting new blood and younger people in our associations?
I can grab that one for you, Dan.
Yeah, please.
That's actually a pressing topic at TRASA right now. In our board meetings, we're often strategizing on how to, you know, increase our outreach. One of the things that I've kind of identified is, you know, courtesy of this pandemic, I guess it's sort of the bad news of what the current state of everything is, but there seems to be a lot of turnover in the business now. You know, when I got involved 10 years ago, a number of my accounts that existed are out of business. They may have retired. They may have sold their business to a younger entrepreneur, whatever the case may be. And I think the inclination for a lot of new business owners is to go it alone. You know, they think that, you know, they're starting a new business, they don't need the help. They're gonna navigate this themselves. And one of the things that I'd offered up as a resolution was to tap into suppliers. Suppliers are often fed leads on new businesses. Ballpark it for me with Augusta Sportswear, I probably receive approximately 4 or 5 emails a week about new Augusta Sportswear accounts. So one of the things we've been doing at TRASA is trying to mine that information, you know, without being intrusive on a potential TRASA member. You know, everyone's kind of touched on this. This is, you know, this is us working cooperatively here, but you know, using those new leads that I'm generating through my company to kind of earmark with the TRASA organization. Hey, this is a brand new business out of the North Hills in Pittsburgh. They might be a great target. You know, they might be interested, and just using that dialogue to identify new businesses that may be interested in joining a regional.
Cool. Anyone else? Any differing opinions?
I mean, when I look at board composition, you know, I think that, you know, the board should basically be made up of a small sample size of the greater regional. So, I mean, there should be at least one large distributor representative, a smaller regional distributor representative. Same thing for the suppliers. If you have business service providers in your area, they should be potentially on the board, and maybe even multi-line reps, you know, because I think it's really beneficial when you have all the different viewpoints on your board composition to be able to take a look at all those different issues during the board. So basically, getting new blood, I mean, I look at it from more of a strategic standpoint like that, and trying to think of, you know, what is the board missing, and then basically just trying to recruit from there, like utilizing my own personal relationships within the industry as a supplier, and, you know, going out and actively personally asking folks if they have any interest. Very similar to Dan, how you were sucked back into SAAGNY, and Joe, I think you were recruited. Most of the people that, as we went through here, said that they were recruited. I was a little bit different. I actually kind of recruited myself, but yeah.
That's Joe, are you gonna say something?
Now, I'm laughing. I'm looking at this group thinking, how many times have all of us tried to explain to what I call a civilian what we do for a living? You know, what is this industry you're in? You know, so we talk a lot within our various groups in SAAGNY about, you know, the growth of the industry, and the fact that a lot of my friends and colleagues just kind of ended up in this industry. So we're trying to place a bigger emphasis on how to be successful in the industry, how to do well, what it takes. I mean, Dan, you had an initiative earlier this year about, you know, how you can help be better with your supplier partners, because everybody's got different rules of engagement. So I place a big emphasis on education in terms of the benefit. Granted, we all want the supplier relationships, the distributor relationships, but I look at deeper benefits that can make you successful in the global sense. That's something we look at a lot.
Cool. Anyone else? And I would say also, I think what's also important is not just focusing on new members. I think it's also important to try to motivate, we'll say, inactive members and people that are part of the association who just aren't involved. And like I said, it doesn't have to be, you know, taking over your life, but I had a situation where the SAAGNY Foundation, which is the nonprofit, you know, fundraising arm for SAAGNY, was just looking for volunteers and bodies. And there is somebody who works for me, one of my sales reps, who's probably in his 20s, very talented, very smart, has a sales background, but also has a graphic arts background. So I called him up, and I'm like, you should be involved. And then I called Sarah, who runs the foundation. I said, you need to call Zach and ask him to volunteer. And she was like, okay. And sure enough, 10 minutes later, she had a new volunteer. So a lot of times it's just as simple as someone calling you and asking and feeling wanted. You know, like I said, if Rachel hadn't called me that day, I can assure you I would not be on this webinar. I wouldn't have cared about it. I wouldn't be moderating it by any means. But again, just a simple phone call from friend to friend motivated me enough to get involved. And I look at this industry, and it's been very, very good to me. It's been good to my family. And you know, it's time to give back. I mean, that's what we all have to do. It's just the way life goes. And, you know, if something is good to you, then pay it forward, give back. And I think there's a lot of rewards there. All right. Let's see if I have any other questions for you guys. DJ, are you on? Can you talk?
I am. I am.
I guess we have to finish with how do you, like, what's the protocol? How do you join? Do you go to a website? Where do you sign up?
Well, you can absolutely go to any of the websites for any of the regionals. You can call the executive directors. You can reach out to any of you, and we'll get you registered. But we do have a couple of questions, and we actually have someone who put in a little thank you to Jeff Franklin for recruiting them for the board. It has been a true blessing. Love the CPPA community, so I wanted to share that. I thought that was very nice.
Excellent.
And then we have a couple questions. So first one, how do any of the regionals use promotional products in your membership growth and retention?
That is a great question, and probably something our industry does not do. Ironically, our industry probably does a poor job of using promo to sell promo. So anybody want to take a stab at that one?
Yeah, we in NEPPA, we do a new member kit that it was a box with some nice items in it, and it has a brochure about what we're all about, and we deliver them, we hand deliver them to new members. So if it's a distributor, one of the suppliers will hand deliver it, and if it's a supplier, one of the distributors will go over and bring it to them or give it to them at a meeting.
Cool.
For PAPPA, we use promotional products at all of our shows. So there's always bags and pens and journals and little handouts when people check in for the show. And Patty, our executive director, has done a really good job of making sure the supplier's item number, or at least their name, something is on there. Because inevitably someone will say, this pen is so cool, where did you get it? And so we're really trying to promote the supplier's items by putting that item number, or at least their name, on there to try and get them to business.
Cool. Andres?
Yeah, we do the same thing for all of our events. We always have VAPPA swag out there that we, use our supplier partners for, just continue getting our name out there. We always have 2 board members stationed at the entrance and exit of the actual show to be able to have those conversations. And if we don't recognize somebody, just talk to them, make sure they know about VAPPA, and can introduce ourselves and let them know. If we have any questions on it, just let us know. But thank them for being there as well.
Thank you. What do you got next, DJ?
Are there any offers to join 2 associations for a split price? I live between 2 and I'm a solopreneur, so paying for 2 is a lot, but I'd like to participate in both.
That would be a question for the executive directors, DJ, but I will say there's.
I mean, I think I don't know of any that do that now, but I mean, that's certainly something to consider, because I think, we are close regionally, and there are times where certainly somebody is closer to one regional than another, depending on where they are. So that's certainly a conversation that we can have, and certainly something that I think District 1, which is Maine to Virginia, can certainly maybe offer going forward.
Mm-hmm.
I know CPPA has reciprocity with, I don't know if it's all of D1 or if it's just PAPPA and VAPPA, but basically you don't join necessarily each for the same cost or a split price, but you do have access to their shows and things like that, the networking events. So you kind of get the membership benefits without being a member. I don't know if that
I was
helps.
going to say the same thing with
Go to Disney, you can jump parks.
Yeah. I was going to say the District 1 webinars have been great too.
It's a park hopper.
Yeah, park hopper. What's that, Stace?
I just was going to say the District 1 webinars have been really well, DJ I know has been instrumental in putting those together. So that's all of District 1 that can log on to those webinars and kind of get the same educational opportunities as any other association in our district.
Cool.
Great. Well, I don't have any more questions. I want to thank all of you, Dan, Andres, Joe, Rachel, Stacy, Jeff, and Mike. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate you all. These webinars are brought to you by the following regionals: CPPA, NEPPA, PAPPA, TRASA, VAPPA, and SAAGNY. As a reminder, these webinars are a member benefit for you and your company. Share the emails about these webinars with your colleagues. Please visit your regional association website for a full calendar of shows, events, and programs, and how to join. Thanks again for joining us today, and we will see you next time.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.